Good morning. It's on. I'm happy to see some of the new faces today and some of the recently new faces today because I have good news to share with everyone. If you're like me and you study the Dharma and you see all the fetters and hindrances that we have to overcome to become enlightened, you say, wow, this is a very difficult task. And of course, anything worthwhile is never easy. But the good news that I share is my topic today is about stream entry. And I believe this stream entry in Pali is sota apati is something very achievable in this lifetime. And it's extremely important, I think, to achieve this in this lifetime because if there was ever a guarantee, if you could call it a guarantee in Buddhism, this would be it, because if we make it to stream entry before our death of this body, we will attain enlightenment within 7 lifetimes, a maximum of 7 lifetimes. We will not regress on our path. A stream winner in Pali is sota panna. A stream winner is forever free from rebirth in 3 lower realms. The Master used the term in his last talk, renewal, in place of rebirth. So renewal. We're forever free from rebirth in the 3 lower realms, which are the various hell realms, the realm of afflicted spirits, and the animal realms. So we will be reborn again as humans or in the heavenly realms, and then within a maximum of 7 lifetimes, we can achieve enlightenment. So this is excellent news. And just to review, this is considered the first of the 4 stages of enlightenment, stream entry. And so there are others, obviously, in this room. This should be a minimum goal for a serious practitioner. Let's make a stream entry, because if we die before we make it there, there's no guarantees, right? We may be reborn in a more unfortunate situation. And who knows what can happen from there. But the fact that we're here today and some of us are practicing, this is an indication, according to the teachings, that we have created enough good karma, that we have some understanding of the Dharma. When we hear the truth of the Dharma, it makes sense to us. We think, this is good, I need to study this, and this is good information. I want more of this. This is good, and the fact that the Sangha is here, this is very, very beneficial to us. And we're very fortunate to have the Sangha here. And we have the time in our lives to come to the Sangha. Glenn came several hours today just to come here. I didn't ask if that was your only reason for coming. I think he sees the benefit. It's very difficult to study and practice on our own without support. Some of us have study groups and whatnot, but the Sangha is extremely beneficial. So we should take advantage of this. We have accumulated enough good karma to have some understanding, to have the benefits of the teachings. So we need to take advantage of this, because if we die before reaching stream entry, there's no guarantees. Who knows what could happen? So let's be steadfast in our practice, and I hope today I can cover some of the ways to get to stream entry that will make sense and can be very concrete and we can practice, and we can have this as our goal. And as I said, there's some others, of course. This is they're going for some higher goals. Leap over some higher bars. And this is very good to have these people among us, because we can learn from them. And So the first stage is the stream entry, and the second is the once returner, and this is one who was reborn or renewed once more in this world before they put an end to suffering. The third stage is a non-returner, and this is one who's reborn in the form realm, generally in one of the 5 planes called the pure abodes. And these are reserved exclusively for the rebirth of non-returners. And this is where they will attain final nirvana. And then the fourth is the arhat, who has achieved the goal. There's no more rebirth for the arhat. This is one who has abandoned all the fetters. And the fetters are what the ties that bind us to this conditioned existence. So remember, nirvana is an unconditioned state. So the arhat has reached that goal. So when writing about I said this is a goal, which is true, and then it dawned on me when I was writing this, like, well, wait a minute, because maybe you've heard of the term in Buddhism, it's a goal, there's goallessness and aimlessness, and so I had to review what does this mean, and that simply means that everything that we need to become enlightened, we have already in us. The Buddha was a human being, and us, it's not so much about acquiring something, attaining something outside of us. We can get the knowledge outside of us, but the wisdom, the understanding, the experience that comes, that's all within us. That's within us. It's not external. So this is why. So it's not so much acquiring something external from us. It's kind of throwing off the veils of ignorance and delusion that cover our enlightenment, if you will, or that cloud our vision so we can't see clearly. It's throwing these things off so we can release the enlightened person that is within us already. So just keep that in mind when you hear. You can have goals, but this is what the goallessness or the aimlessness in Buddhism is about. So there's 4 factors in which to cultivate that lead to stream entry. And the first one is associating with wise and virtuous spiritual guides. This is Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation. And then Anasaro Bhikkhu says associating with people of integrity. So I just thought, spiritual guides, this would be more in the department of the monastics and spiritual guides. But I think if you say associating with people of integrity, of course they're included in that, but then also just particularly some of the practitioners who have been practicing for a little while longer than maybe yourself. These are people of integrity that we can talk to and share things with and just observe and get examples from. So this is very important. And this is why the Sangha is such an important in our practice, I think. In the Upada Sutta, I'm sure most of you are familiar when I read this, Ananda says to the Buddha, "This is half of the holy life, Lord. Admirable friendship, admirable companionship, admirable camaraderie." The Buddha says, "No, don't say that, Ananda. Don't say that. Admirable friendship, admirable companionship, admirable camaraderie is actually the whole of the holy life. When a monk has admirable people as friends, companions, and comrades, he can be expected to develop and practice the Noble Eightfold Path." So you see how important this is. And I failed to mention stream entry. The stream is the Noble Eightfold Path. That is considered the stream. So 2 on our list for 4 factors is listening to the true Dharma. I thought it was curious in here because it doesn't say just listening to the Dharma, it says the true Dharma. And this kind of brought up in my mind, I think there are a lot of well-intending people out there who, I'm guilty of this myself, because if my understanding can be limited and I try to explain the Dharma, but I might skew it to fit my current view of things in the world. So we have to be very careful, and as our practice grows, our understanding and wisdom grows, we can know what we read online or books or people we listen to, what is the true Dharma and what maybe is not quite there. I know maybe 5 or 6 years ago, a friend, before I knew about Buddhism, a friend turned me on to an online book, and I downloaded it, and it was kind of out there, considered like a new age religion kind of thing, or spiritual. It wasn't, they didn't want to call it religion, I think it was spiritual. And then I read a little more from this person, and then I discovered Buddhism, and I realized they were taking Buddhism, painting it a different color, calling it something else, using different verbiage, and but it was Buddhism. But they weren't calling it that, and they weren't using examples or saying anything about the Buddha or his teachings or anything. So, I don't know what the intention of this person was, maybe because some people shy away from anything that's called religious, and that they consider themselves spiritual. I don't know if that was the intention. To me it smelled kind of fishy, and so I just abandoned that, so I could go to the real source. In the Dhammasavana Sutta, the Buddha says there are these 5 rewards in listening to the Dhamma. Which 5? One hears what one has not heard before. This is pretty straightforward. Like I said, you hear something, and it's like, oh, this is very good. I need to investigate this more. 2 is one clarifies what one has heard before. I'm sure most of us know how important this is. I could hear the Four Noble Truths, and I'm sure I will, over and over and over again, or how many times we read something over and over again, and every time it becomes a little more clear, because Buddhism is not like reading just a novel. It's very different from that. The practice, our understanding grows, and the more we read, the more it can grow. The more we practice, the more it can grow. And I think it's good too to hear from our admirable friends when they give talks. It's good to hear from the different perspectives, the different people, because everybody's got their own little take on things, and you kind of get different viewpoints, different angles, and it kind of, I think it helps us to see a little more clearly. I think it's very important. 3 is one gets rid of doubt, and this goes hand in hand with reading more, and I think this is where I can talk a little bit about faith, because, I know in the beginning of Buddhism, you have to have you have to start with faith, right? The faith is to be beneficial to me. I don't know if it will be, but I'll give it a try of faith. And then you experience some of the things that Buddha's talking about. Wow, I understand this, I have wisdom in yourself arise. You experience this for yourself. And so when there's higher teachings, because you've had this faith, and now you have the experience, you have the understanding yourself, so these higher teachings, that you have even greater faith now. And it just keeps growing. So your faith grows more and more as your understanding grows. That this is in fact very beneficial to me, and here's why. So this is very important to get rid of doubt. This is how we get rid of doubt. So the faith, the practice, the understanding and wisdom that arises within us. 4 on this list is one's views are made straight. So again, this comes with our understanding, our wisdom, and you can see every time I hear about views, that 38 Special song, Hold On Loosely, that's what comes to my mind. The song goes, hold on loosely, but don't let go. If you cling too tightly, you're going to lose control. And it's about a relationship. In this way, so if you hold on to your views loosely, that way when your understanding and wisdom grows, and your views can change, and it's okay. It doesn't cause us any suffering, And we can grow this way. You can see in the world, there's so many people that have their views, and they hold on to it like this is the truth, and I'm right, and if you don't agree disagree with this truth, then you're wrong, which is not at all what the Buddha is taught. And Thich Nhat Hanh talks about knowledge, but I think you can relate it to views. Or if you're climbing a ladder and you're holding on, like this is the truth right here, I got it. Well, then you're stuck there. You can't advance up the ladder. You have to be willing to let go and don't hold on, don't attach to views. It's like attaching to anything else in moving. You have to hold on loosely and let things expand and grow as we do. And then 5 on the list is one's mind grows serene. I'm sure most of us in this room have experienced the benefits of a tranquil, calm mind. It's really amazing how beneficial this can be. The serenity of mind is a wonderful thing. And so the simile of a mountain lake that I always think of when I hear of the serene or tranquil mind, where if you were on a canoe, say, in this lake, and it's extremely calm water, you could see straight down to the bottom with 20 feet, 5 feet down or so, say, very clear. Same with our mind. Our mind's calm, serene. We can penetrate deeply into our mind and see things more clearly. But if it's turbulent, like the waters on the lake, we can't see very far. We're grasping for this, attaching to that, all the stimulus. This is kind of a normal way of life for a lot of us for a lot of years. We can't see very deeply when our mind has too much going on. So this is part of our practice. Okay, so back to our list for the 4 factors to cultivate the stream entry. We're on number 3, and that's appropriate attention or attending to things carefully. These authority rests, for example, by way of gratification, danger, and escape. So you've probably heard of these before. It's gratification, danger, and escape. And a simple example I can use in my life is at one time I was very attached to beer. And I even identified myself, I like rock and roll and beer, right? And it wasn't that garbage beer that the big breweries made. I wanted the craft beers and the microbrews and these kind of things. And I even made my own beer. So I was attached to that. Any gratification is very obvious. You get gratified. And the danger, and this is obvious, is alcohol and beer. So at some point, I just decided that, there's really not much benefit in this at all. I'm just going to see if I can just drop it. And fortunately, in this case, the beer thing was very simple. It was very easy for me to drop it. So that was my escape from this attachment. I just was able to drop it. But this gratification, danger, and escape, too, any example you can have where there's craving and you want to gratify that craving. And there's always danger in that because this is an endless cycle. This is how the worldling typically conducts their lives. This is craving and gratification. We don't see the danger or in how to escape from it. So it's there, it keeps us in samsara. So this is something we need to be aware of in our mind and feeling, and the craving comes up. And we can see this too in terms of the 12 links of dependent arising. When there's contact, if I see a beer or a brownie or something, a feeling arises, a craving arises. Now I can act on that craving and get some gratification, or I can, the first step is to be aware that this is happening. And maybe give it some space, step back, and see what happens. This is just the first step. This is part of the practice. So be aware of appropriate attention or attending to things carefully. And 4 on our list is practice in accordance with the Dharma. We do this by the threefold training in moral discipline, concentration, and wisdom. And the Dharma Sutta says, for a monk practicing the Dharma in accordance with the Dharma, what accords with the Dharma is this. If you keep cultivating disenchantment with regard to form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. So that we keep cultivating disenchantment with the five aggregates. So this body, form, feelings, perception, the mental formations, and consciousness. And it goes on. So how can we do this? We keep focused on the impermanence, the three marks of existence here, the impermanence, the dukkha of the unsatisfactoriness, and the non-self in regards to form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. So this is in regards to the three marks of existence, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self, and the five aggregates. So this is part of our practice. Is myself in this body that's impermanent, is going to die and decay? There's no self in this body. And there's feelings that arise. Is there self in this impermanent feeling? There's not self. And the perceptions, or the conceptions, I think as Don mentioned, conceptions, perceptions, is there self in there? Or the mental formations, or the consciousness, or the awareness of this? This is something you practice and you get an understanding. There's no self in these things. And if we attach to the idea of the self in there, then this is going to cause dukkha, or unsatisfactoriness. And we are trying to put an end to this dukkha. So by practicing or cultivating these four factors leading to stream entry, we can become a stream winner, sotapanna. Again, this means we've entered the stream of the Noble Eightfold Path and thus abandoned, if we get to this stage, it means we've abandoned the first three of the five lower fetters. And the first fetter that we abandon is identity view. So we just talked about five aggregates and identity view with its body and all the mental things going on in this body. So this identity view is the view of a truly existent self, either as identical with or existing in some relation to the five aggregates that we just discussed. So two, the fetter we get rid of is doubt. Doubt about the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, and the training. So again, we talked before about the faith and the understanding and the wisdom. And this is how doubt gets eradicated. If we experience these things for ourselves, and we know we've experienced so many times that what the Buddha is talking about, and it's been beneficial. And so our doubt, it's abandoned. Very important. And the third of the fetters that we abandon is wrong grasp of rules and observances. This is the belief that religious rituals and ascetic practices can lead to liberation. So I think in some ways this might have been more relevant in Buddhist time when there was more ascetic practices going on, even though they're still going on to this day. But I think the point is that just the practices themselves, of course, there's nothing wrong with practices, not so much the ascetic practices, but Buddha practiced extreme austerities in these ascetic practices as far as you can go, and he realized this was not the way to enlightenment. And he proved that to himself. It's like, this is not the way. And neither is indulging in the sensual desires. He's experienced both. He found the middle way. But also in these religious rituals, maybe there's some people out there that just think just going through the motions of religious rituals will be the path to enlightenment without, and there's nothing, like I said, there's nothing wrong with the rituals themselves, but if your heart and mind and practice is not in there, then the practices are just practices. There's not going to be much benefit. If you have the religious practices with your practice and heart and mind involved, and of course it's going to be beneficial. But just the religious practices and rituals themselves will be of no benefit. So I think that's what the third one's talking about. So that's my talk, and I hope that everyone in this room can set a goal, whatever it might be, in this lifetime, and achieve that goal. Thank you. First time.
Can you review the 4 factors again? Being with good friends.
Good friends are, I chose the admirable people, just because good can be, I have a good friend, but might not be admirable. So associated with wise, people of integrity or admirable persons, listening to the true Dharma, appropriate attention or attending to things carefully, so like when craving arises, and maybe seeing the links, dependent arising, and how this, having the insight to all this occurring within us, and then practice in accordance with the Dharma. This is the 5 aggregates, and seeing the impermanence, the unsatisfactoriness, and the not-self.